And welcome to Hannity, and we are in beautiful Indianapolis in Indiana at the Indiana War Memorial tonight. Now for the entire hour, we're joined by Senator Ted Cruz and his new vice presidential running mate, Carly Fiorina. We have a large audience. Welcome all of you. And Ted Cruz supporters, a lot to get to tonight as we take it off. Wow. I wonder, are there any I don't even think Larry Bird would get that kind of reaction. Welcome, Indiana. Thank you so much for having us in your city tonight. It's an honor to be here. Senator, good to see you again. We appreciate you being back on the program.
Sean,
Carly
thank you.
Fiorina, welcome back to you. All right, we got to ask the obvious question. Tell us about the process that brought you two together and make this announcement.
Well, sure. You know, it really is perhaps the most solemn and serious decision that any presidential candidate makes is choosing a vice presidential nominee, because you're telling the American people this is a person who's prepared to lead the country. This is a person who you can trust to honor the promises we're making, to defend, to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution. And critically, this is a person who is prepared to step in and be commander-in-chief and keep this country safe and defend us from our enemies, both foreign and domestic.
Right. Carly, you've been out on the campaign trail. I've interviewed you with Senator Cruz before. I have said this publicly when you were running, after you got out of the race. I do think you've been one of the most effective people of the 17 in prosecuting the case against Hillary Clinton. Taking her on very boldly. Are you convinced ultimately she is the opponent for the Republicans, or do you think she's in an orange jumpsuit and shoes without laces?
Well, look, when Ted Cruz is the President of the United States, I suspect that Hillary Clinton will be prosecuted. But until then, I suspect she'll be the nominee of the Democrat Party, which is something I've always said is going to happen.
We do have an update on that. The Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, earlier today said, oh, just like James Comey, there's no deadline as it relates to the investigation.
I rest my case. I rest my case. So the investigation's going to go on and on and on and on and on. And then on November 5th, the new president-elect will say, I'd like an update on that case, please. Mm-hmm. I just have to say that
Hillary may have to pardon herself if she ever won.
Well,
she's not going to win. Don't worry. All right.
Yeah, you know why she's not going to win? You know why she's not going to win? Because Ted is going to win, and the reason Ted is going to win is because think about the contrast. Think about the sharp contrast between Cruz and Fiorina and Clinton and Trump. Now, why do I put them together? Clinton and Trump. Because they're two sides of the same coin, Sean. They're two sides of the same coin. They are both the ultimate insiders. I mean, wow. John Boehner says yesterday that Donald Trump is his texting and golfing buddy. And Harry Reid thinks Donald Trump's okay, too. And Donald Trump's contributed 7 times to Hillary Clinton. I'm sorry, it is not a choice or a contrast when Donald Trump agrees with Hillary Clinton on so many positions. Yeah, he's okay with the Iranian nuclear deal. Yeah, he's okay with single-payer health care. Yeah, he was okay until he wasn't on partial birth abortion. You go on and on and on. How long have Republicans and conservatives said we can only win by presenting a clear contrast? So here it is. People of Indiana. Cruz, Fiorina, Trump, Clinton.
You mentioned John Boehner, and I'm a commentator. I had some pretty strong words to say about him yesterday, and I'm pretty ticked off because as Speaker, he would not fight the Obama agenda. He did not use his constitutional authority, the power of the purse. While he was Speaker, he allowed Obama to accumulate $4.1 trillion in debt. They would not repeal those parts of Obamacare that they could. You stood for 22 hours, Senator. And then he calls you, and then he called you a miserable SOB. Over his dead body would you be elected, and he compared you to Satan.
Yeah.
Well, look, I give him credit.
I have a couple of candidates I might go there with, but no, I'm not going to mention who.
Listen, I give Boehner credit for imagery. I suppose the Speaker was letting out his inner Trump. But, you know, those comments reveal everything you need to know about Washington. Listen, we don't have two parties in Washington. We have one corrupt, bipartisan mess in Washington.
I agree with that.
It's not just that Boehner allowed Obama to run up trillions in debt. Boehner funded it all. Boehner led the effort. And, you know, it was striking in Boehner's comments. He praised Hillary Clinton, and he praised Donald Trump. He said, Donald is my friend. We go texting. We go golfing. He's my buddy. And the one person he had vitriol and venom for was me. And I don't know John Boehner. Well, I don't think we've said 50 words to each other in our lives.
You didn't represent him because that was a big issue in the press.
Look, I was a junior lawyer. My boss was hired to be his lawyer. So I worked on the case. I worked on some appellate briefs.
So you didn't know him?
I don't know that I ever met him. We haven't said 50 words to each other in our lives. I was a baby lawyer a couple of years out of law school working on editing some briefs and helping write them. But I don't know the man. And here's the point. Look,
I don't think we need lectures from a guy that gives us an extra $4.1 trillion in debt, right?
But it's actually, Sean, it's very revealing. What Boehner is so angry with, not anything I've ever said to him, it's the fact that I stood up and said, I'm going to honor the promises I made to the men and women who elected me. I'm going to fight to stop Obamacare. I'm going to fight to stop the debt. I'm going to fight to stop amnesty. And what happened is House conservatives rose up with me and said, we're going to honor our commitments as well. It's why Boehner lost his job, is because House conservatives rose up and said, stop having a speaker who funds Obama. And the critical thing to understand is John Boehner and Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are all part of the same corrupt system. It's why Donald Trump writes checks to Boehner and Hillary. And if you want to change the system, you know, one of the greatest frauds in modern electoral history is Donald Trump pretending to be an outsider when he has funded liberal Democrats, when he's funded John Boehner. He gave John Boehner $100,000 as super PAC just a few years ago, and he is enmeshed with the corruption. Trump is texting Boehner, you know what, I don't have Boehner's cell phone, and I'm perfectly okay with that.
Sean, can I just add one thing? Look, the American people are angry. You're ticked. I'm ticked. We're all ticked, because guess what? The system isn't working for us anymore. It works if you're big, you're powerful, you're wealthy, you're well-connected. It doesn't work for anyone else. Now, I have to say, as someone who's fought systems all my life, that's how you go from secretary to CEO. You challenge the system. You challenge the status quo. I am so tired of people attacking Ted Cruz, because guess what? You know who attacks Ted Cruz? The people whose status quo he's challenging. Yeah. Let me tell you something. If you're gonna challenge a system, and this system needs challenging, if you're going to challenge the status quo, if you're going to challenge the well-connected and the wealthy and the powerful, you're going to make enemies. So you know what? I have come to know this man exceedingly well over the last 7 weeks. I know him as a friend, as a husband, as a father, and as a great leader. And I, for one, am exceptionally proud of the enemies he has made.